What's up, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Shred Show Live. With me, your host, Josh Pitts, and I'm joined by some incredibly talented, the beautiful, the ever extravagant Jerry Yoshida, Molly Dowdy of Next Mortgage Events. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us and you're here hanging out with us live, as always, comment right now, hashtag shred, because you are shredding with Molly. You're shredding with Jerry. You're hanging out with us. You're having a good time. And if you're joining us on the replay, make sure you comment hashtag hustle, because you're out there, you're hustling, you're getting it done. Then you're coming back right here to get what you need to grow your business. And again, I'm very excited to have these incredible ladies joining me this morning, talking about something. To me, we've all sat through them, the good, the bad, and the ugly when it comes to virtual events. And these ladies are going to be sharing some of the best tips, strategies, and techniques that you as a speaker or as an attendee can get value out of these incredible events. But before we get into that today, I want to, again, thank these ladies. Molly and Jerry come from a very long and extensive background within the mortgage industry, within the events space, and now they're going to share those awesome techniques with us. But Jerry, before we get into that, tell us, how did Next Mortgage Events even come to be? Because it is continuing to grow, continuing to catch the attention and grow like wildfire in this industry.
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks, Josh, for having us. We're so excited to be here. Okay, so you were talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly. Well, the bad and the ugly was how Next was born, because Molly and I have been, as you said, in the industry for so long. We've been to a ton of bad and ugly events, and we just thought there had to be a better way. So, after we stopped complaining, or actually after Molly stopped me from complaining, we sat down and we said, what are we going to do about it? And we came up with the idea of Next, which is just to give a much more elevated experience and to focus on the women executives in our industry, the top level women executives, of which there are so many. So essentially, that's how it came about.
That's awesome. And I'm so glad that you talk about, there are so many talented, as I've traveled the last few years and got to know so many incredible women in our industry, there is such a powerful there. And to watch you ladies unite and come together and share these different stories. I've heard incredible stories that you ladies have shared to different experiences. It's so great to have an organization that is absolutely focused on that. And it's so great to hear, again, just talking about what you guys do. So let's kind of get into this. Virtual events are becoming the norm with this pandemic, with this COVID world that we live in. Virtual events are becoming, we all have attended them. And like you said, we've attended the good, the bad, and the ugly when it comes to that. And I'm excited for you ladies to be sharing with us, because I'm sure with 2021 just around the corner, we're probably going to be attending a few more virtual events. We all look forward to the day when we can all be back in person. But until that happens, the virtual events are still a very big thing for us. So Molly, tell us, especially when it comes to speakers, what are some of the tips and strategies when it comes to actually being a speaker? How can you get the most out of being a speaker at these virtual events?
I think the most important thing is to look at it from the audience's perspective. So from the very beginning, even when you're planning what your comments are going to be, to the very end, know that in a virtual environment, it is just a click away to leave your event. It is so much easier, because we all have 14 screens and different things demanding our attention. It's so much easier just to look away from a screen and disengage from that event than it is to get up and walk out of a room, for example. So the very first thing is, everything has to be centered around, what is your audience looking for? What do they need? And what's most important to them? I think that's the most important tip, is to look at it from that point of view.
Ooh, that's really good. Jerry, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I agree. We're really lucky because we've got these fantastic speakers at Next, and Next was founded on sharing information. So it's sort of peer-to-peer executive level intel. So pretty much by the time an executive makes it onto our stage, she's aware that she's an expert. She's been selected because she's in the trenches. She's probably in the C-suite or an EVP or some very, very high level executive who knows how to do something and who's willing to share, hey, listen, I went through this and I learned through the school of hard knocks how to get through this. Let me tell you what it is. So we'll have a panel of, for example, chief compliance officers talking about how they're handling some sort of a compliance issue. So that said, a lot of the speakers, they're ready to share they're ready to share what the audience wants to hear, because they know they want to hear sort of those tips and tricks, those insider kind of secrets. But I think where it comes into play is when you're sponsoring an event and maybe you're doing some sort of a tech demo or something like that. You're on stage because you want to promote something. And that's where I think that you've got to remember it's very, very difficult. We've seen a lot of people not do it quite as well as we would like them to have done it. In a lot of events, I'm not talking about Next. Just on the stage, sometimes we're watching these events and it's just like you're cringing because, you're thinking like, God, how many people have they lost? I feel like they're probably dropping like flies. We've seen these days of tech demos that you're just like, oh my gosh, I want to go there and save them.
You want to help, right? You're like, please, let me just help.
Totally. So what Molly was saying about make sure that you're looking at what the audience wants to hear. I think that that's really, really important. So, as people who are selling maybe and promoting a product, it's really easy, and it's a really easy trap to fall into. Tell them what you want them to know, rather than what they want to hear. So on that note, yeah, I would say, Molly, you've seen, obviously we've talked about tech demos, which we're not even, we're straying away from that. But Molly, we've seen things that worked really well and things that didn't. So,
Yeah. And, it's like, I think a lot of times a speaker might take it as a selling opportunity, and it's obvious to everybody, and nobody wants to participate in that or listen to it, or so really you got to take your mind out of the selling opportunity and into sharing intel and collaboration and building relationships. That's how a speaker should approach an event.
Molly, tell them about that lunch speaker that we had. Remember that one where yeah, that's a really great story.
So we had a speaker do she did a kickoff right before our luncheon, and she was awesome because she's actually a wine expert in her off time. Huh. And she gave a short presentation about different wines and what goes with what. And she was really engaging and funny because that's her passion, is wine.
And she resisted the urge to go in there and talk about her product, and which is what a lot of people do. If you have like 5 minutes before lunch and everybody wants to eat, the inclination is like, oh, and it slices and it dices and it's, like you want to do all of that stuff. But she really was disciplined. And I'm sorry to interrupt you, Molly. Go ahead and go on. It's such a great story.
She took the road less traveled, right? And she got up there and shared her passion. Well, after that, there were women lined up to talk to her about wine. It's a great icebreaker, so to speak. And they had a fun time building relationship. And she told us she landed her biggest client of the year as a result of that presentation. So I know that people's marketing teams and PR teams have been telling them, stop the selling, start building relationships. But we're here to tell you it really does work. And we've seen it work over and over again. So take that risk and really put yourself out there instead of hawking a product.
Well, we've all been part of, I'm so glad that you bring this up. We literally talked this about on the podcast that I was on yesterday. We talked about this. We've all attended those virtual events, especially talking about an event in person, like your body language, the feel in the room, it's so easier to connect with somebody. Virtual events are even harder. And if you start hawking a product on a virtual event, you lose it, like it's gone. Like you cannot even connect. Like in a room, you might be able to connect with them emotionally with the look, with the feel of the room, maybe. Virtual event, there is absolutely no chance. If you start pitching in the beginning, especially if you have no connection, no relationship built at all, you can forget about it. Your time has been wasted as a speaker, as a presenter. It's just gone out the window. These tips, ladies and gentlemen, these are the tips you need to know, because I guarantee some of you as executives, as C-level executives, you need to know these things, because I know some of you are like, oh, I'm getting ready to start presenting, or this event is coming up. So these things can save you. And especially if you're a lender, if you're a tech company, don't just go right into the presentation. You have to establish that relationship. You have to establish that rapport before you go right into it. Because both of you ladies, we've all been to those virtual events where it is just one big sales pitch. It is absolutely like pitch after pitch after pitch, and there's no value. Yeah. Molly, you mentioned that. Like, you have to be able to create that value. So on this point a little bit, for those who, again, are speakers, those who are trying to portray their message, is it okay to pitch eventually when they're a speaker? I mean, because again, if we're speaking, if we're taking our time out of our busy day, is it okay to maybe throw a little bit in there, or do you just avoid that completely and really just focus on value for the audience? What are your ladies' thoughts?
I think it's important to you absolutely you're nobody's expecting you to not speak at all about your product and not mention your company's name. But what you want to do, and again, I know that this is, I know that probably everybody's heard this, preparation. Don't go up there and wing it. We have so many people who say, "Oh, I do this all the time. I don't need to prepare." It's like, and then when they get on stage, it's like, yeah, you look, it doesn't look like you do this all the time. And if you do that all the time, you're probably not getting any business. So what they would want to do is, whether they rehearse their speech or whether they, whether they talk about, like, they have their bullet points laid out, what you should do is only talk about the most important stuff and tease the audience. Don't go into nobody wants to hear about how the sausage is made, right? Tell them how good it tastes. This is basic information here, but nobody, that's why these, a 5, 10, 20 minute talk about, and going on and on and on. It's like, okay, well, you know what? I just want to know what this tastes like. Mm-hmm. Am I going to like it or not? So that's what I would say. Yeah, you want to hook them, you want to keep them interested, but yeah, you don't want to get into so much detail that they're zoning out, which is, as you said, so easy to do virtually.
Yep.
Well, and I would always frame it in terms of a solution to their problem. So nobody cares about your product or your company or what you've done or who your partners are. What they care about is, what can you do for me? So get to that right away. What kind of problems do you solve? I would always frame your benefit, your company's benefit, in terms of problems, their own problems that you're solving, because otherwise it's just, people don't have the time to listen to it.
100%. Both of what you ladies have said is so important when it comes to, like you said, Jerry, too. You want to tease them a little, you want to hook them, and then you want to solve that problem for them. Because if they go away with those two things, no, when they want more, they're like, "Oh my gosh, I got a little bit, I got that little bit of taste in my mouth, and now." Now I know the problem they're solving for me as well. So I have to reach out to Jerry. I have to reach out to Molly to get to know more. So again, now they're coming to you. You're not you're not creating that lead. They've come straight to you. So I love this. Now, and as we start to wrap things up here, we haven't even talked about attendees. We all are going to these events. We're all, as attendees, we're signing up for event after event because we're getting spammed with them. And there's so many events out there. So let's talk about that. As an attendee, how do you get the most out of virtual events? And how do you choose what virtual events you should be attending?
Josh, we're really lucky because we have a very cohesive group when we're on site, and that actually is carried over to our virtual events. So we've been really fortunate, and our attendees have been really fortunate because they've been able to bond and get to know each other. So it definitely is possible. We've actually gotten feedback from attendees who've said, I made new friends, and it's just virtually, which is awesome. That rarely, if ever, happens. So, but what you want to do, I'm going to just before I turn it over to Molly, is you want to make a decision that you want to do it first of all. So do you want to go in there and just be a spectator and watch and not engage? Okay, well then that's fine. But if not, you've got to make that decision ahead of time. Okay, I've decided that I'm going to use this opportunity to meet new people, to discuss, and to make myself visible and that sort of thing. So, most events have chat functions that Molly's going to talk to you a little bit more about how you can engage on chat.
Yes, definitely use the chat function. Event organizers want you to use it. Speakers want you to use it. So do not be shy about that. Even if you put in a different name, you don't want it to be your own name, whatever, it does not matter. Just be sure and engage in the chat, because you will get answers to the questions that you have. And there are some things that you can do ahead of time. I want to cover a few tips for attendees before the event even starts. So a lot of events will have an attendee list on their website. We do that where we show names and or titles and companies of people who are coming. You can scan that list, and if there's somebody that you want to meet, a speaker, for example, reach out and say on social media, instead of the old the standard LinkedIn connection request, reach out and say, hey, I saw you're going to be at Next Winter 21. I'm looking forward to it. You're much more likely to connect with that person with that tailored message than you are with the standard, whatever. And then if you can send them questions ahead of time, you can send them to the speakers or you can send them to the organizers. That's a great way to make sure that your topics are covered, or at least hope that your topics are covered. And then we also encourage people, because a lot of virtual events, they'll broadcast the event, but they're also on their social channels posting comments and updates about what's happening in the event. Be sure and go to those channels too, because you can ask questions there. You can meet other attendees there. You can make comments about the sessions that you liked or didn't like. So their social channels is a great place to interact in addition to the virtual event.
See, and I love what you're saying, Molly, because if you're going to attend an event, ladies and gentlemen, be engaged. Don't just attend to be sitting in the background. Like if you're just attending an event to attend an event, you're not going to get as much. And honestly, you're doing it an injustice to not only yourself, but to the host of the event, to the speaker of the event. If you're going to commit the time, whether it's even a 2-hour event, or it's a day event, 2-day event, be engaged, be willing to go the extra mile, and don't just be one of the people sitting in the back row just watching. Be engaged, comment. You're going to get more out of it. The people attending are going to get more out of it. So I love those things that you share, Molly, because you have to go that little extra mile, because again, we talk about time being our most valuable resource, which it is. If you're going to commit your time to go to a virtual event, you need to make sure you're going to get it out of as much as possible. So these tips, these techniques, these things that you should be doing as attendees, as speakers, these are brilliant. And I don't know if you guys caught it, ladies and gentlemen, but Molly did exactly. She teased you with an event that mortgage events, actually, the next mortgage events has coming up. Next mortgage events 2021. I want to just touch on that really, really quick. Ladies, give us a date and when that can be and what people can expect of that.
So it runs from January 20th to the 22nd. Registration is free. It's targeted toward executives. So if you're a mortgage executive, you definitely want to be in that room, because what we do is we have experts that exchange competitive intel. The web address where you can register is nextmortgagenews.com/nextwinter21. Molly, do you want to tell them about some of the cool new sessions we have going on?
Yes. So forget those boring demos, like those snooze fest software demos that people don't sit through anyway. Yeah. We're not going to do that at all. Instead, we're going to have a fireside chat type, a master class, a 20-minute where we talk about the technology in terms of how it solves problems and what problems it solves. So we're really focusing those discussions so that it's much more engaging for the viewer. We also have our 20-minute mentor that everybody loves that series. That is where an executive woman, for 20 minutes, she shares what she would have told her younger self. And we've had some absolutely fantastic and inspirational speakers in the past. We have a really good lineup for Next Winter 21 too. So that's always a crowd favorite. And we have this is the first time we're doing this. We're going to do a 20-minute mentor reunion.
Oh.
Yes, where we're going to have 4 of the women who have done the 20-minute mentors before circle back and talk about what's changed since. They've had major career shifts since then, and just kind of update everybody on
leadership and what they're doing and what that means to them and stuff like that. So,
I love it.
In case you don't know, 20-Minute Mentor has by far been our most popular series. I mean, we hear over and over and over these our attendees saying, "This is awesome. Oh my gosh, I could have stayed all day. I didn't want to get up and leave." I mean, this is where other people have the issue of like not wanting to, trying to get people to stay in the virtual rooms. We actually have the opposite issue. People keep begging us for breaks because they're saying we're afraid to get up and leave because we're afraid we're going to miss something. So
we're going to have breaks this time.
Built-in breaks.
We're going to have fun breaks.
We're going to have really fun breaks. We can't tell you exactly what it is right now, but
teaser.
We have very cool break ideas. Trust me, you're going to like it. And we're going to have to build breaks for the breaks because people are not going to want to leave the breaks either. I mean,
the break is supposed to be fun, but we couldn't help ourselves.
See, there you go. The teaser.
Fun.
Jerry and Molly are practitioners. They're showing you the teasers. You have to I've just posted the link below for the next mortgage, nextmortgagenews.com/nextwinter21. The link is below. You guys can click on it. Registration is free. This is one of those events talking about, they've been willing to share all that you need to know as a speaker, as an attendee, and now you have the opportunity to attend one of their events. So you definitely want to check that out. You do not want to miss this, because if you think this was a lot of fun, we've only been doing this for 20 minutes. You think this show was a lot of fun, and then the next mortgage event is going to be absolutely off the hook. So ladies, days. You think I just say you want days of this? Go sign up right now. Ladies, we cannot thank you guys enough for joining us on the show today, for being willing to share all that you have and giving so much value to our industry and all that you continue to do and helping our industry grow and thrive, especially for all the incredible women of our industry. So ladies, Molly, Jerry, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Guys, if you have any questions, if you need any help with Next Mortgage events, again, their link is below. You can reach out to them. Again, they're willing to share. They're willing to help you continue to get better, continue to improve, because that's what they want. They want to see us as an industry get better. With that, ladies and gentlemen, as always, we appreciate you. We love you. And now it's time for you to go shred, go show up, hustle, repeat every day. See you guys. Thanks, ladies.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.